I'll
All
kick us
right.
off. Welcome to the threat management staff meeting. Wayne, you got the first item on the agenda.
As I
Actually, we've
bring it
got
up.
announcements at the top. Are we going to verbalize those, Wayne?
Yeah, why don't we briefly do it to see if anybody wants to discuss them in more detail. So the Q4 OKRs, objectives and key results for our sub-department are available. There's a link there. All feedback is welcome. Lindsay and Sam and Tiago and Matt and others have been commenting on them, which is great, but definitely love feedback from everybody. Hopefully none of it's much of a surprise, although some might be. So good stuff. So if you have any feedback, just let's work it asynchronously. And Juliana, it said you weren't on the call, but you're on the call today.
I'm here.
Does everybody know who you are? Maybe everybody doesn't.
I don't think so. I'm Juliana. It's so nice to see all of you. I've been meaning to join this call for a long time, but for one reason or another, there's always been something conflicting. I'm the people business partner for development. Yeah, it's great to put some names to the faces. I think I've seen your names written in so many different places. It's nice to see what you look like via video. So I have an update on the talent assessment. We're starting in Q4 this year. Everything I have pasted is still in draft version, but I realized that what I updated last week ended up being really outdated. So I just wanted to share the latest. We'll talk about this today in development staff and hopefully have a more finalized update by next week that I'll add to the next meeting. But essentially, we're kicking off talent assessments company-wide. Most of the company is doing both performance and potential, but development will just be doing performance for this first iteration. And there are a few implications for managers specifically because of that approach. We have training sessions for this kicking off tomorrow, which I've linked. And the training sessions will cover both performance and potential. I would still recommend that you attend because the information for performance is valuable, just knowing that you won't need to assess potential this time around. And then there's sort of a timeline in point 2C that overviews actions from managers over the course of the next month or so. So in October and early November, you'll have a chance to assess team members performance-wise, and then we'll have a live calibration session, which I believe has already been scheduled for November. Wayne, help me, 4? Is it 4? I'll confirm that in my next update. Sometime in November, we'll have a live calibration.
I'm sure I'll be reminded more than once about Lindsay and Tiago and I will be reminded about it more than once. So.
You definitely will be. And yeah, this is just sort of an overview, how we're recommending communication, salary impact, all of those good details. Are there any immediate questions on this? I know it's a lot. No. All right.
Thanks, Juliana. I don't actually know who put the next two on, but Alexander, you commented on them, so do you mind reading them and your comments on them?
Yeah, totally. I definitely had that sheet up in front of me. So FYI, the auto closure of inactive bugs is coming. This looks very cool. So if they're have a severity of 3 and 4, as well as have a label of bug, and it's been inactive for at least 12 months, it will be identified as eligible for auto closure.
Yeah, I think it's great as well. The automated cleanup of things like this. And I think it's going to comment saying, if you disagree with this being automatically closed, please feel free to reopen. What I've seen happen is that like 95% of the time that's done, nobody cares, and it's great. It cleans things up. And the 5% of that time that people that do, it actually brings it up in priority because it's not mixed in with the other, hundreds of things. So I think it's a good thing overall.
Yeah, definitely. I think all of us have been at companies where the backlog is thousands of bugs deep, and you're like, oh, do any of these matter anymore? So this is excellent. Next one, new Slack channel, everyone. Woo! Threat management social. If you haven't joined already, please do. It's where we share jokes. It's where we post puzzles for us all to work on. It's where we share really funny links. Wayne, do you have something to say? No.
It's like
Okay.
totally the place to be. If you're not there already, you're really missing out.
Drosaurus was a lot of fun. I guess I do have something to say. I'd never done that before. I had a lot of fun with that.
What a good plug for after the Threat Insights call this morning. We have a Draw-a-saurus session scheduled for anyone who wants to attend. You can invite your friends. This isn't just limited to threat management, but it's lots of fun.
Friends like in GitLab, outside of GitLab, any friend?
We should, I don't, just keep it to GitLab for now. I don't know.
I'm just
Sorry.
kidding.
Maybe in the future we invite our common community contributors. Who knows? Maybe they've been, probably not. The time zones wouldn't work out that well, but couldn't hurt to ask.
Yeah, that's a great question. How can we interact with our wider community in a less formal way than issue? Is there a Slack channel that they can be added to?
We have the Gitters channel, so that would be, I think, the best option. And I know you can pull that into your desktop client, but it's a separate app, so it's available externally. I don't know how much social discussion goes on there. That's a good question. Could you add if there could be a social channel added to that or something? But
there is a way to have I'm sorry. There's also a way to have a Slack channel that you can invite people who are not GitLab team members to. You have to configure it as such. I don't think it gets used. Well, it doesn't get used by engineering that often, but it does by like sales, where they'll create channels where customers are on them too. Perhaps if there's interest amongst the common threat management community contributors to add them to such a thing, I'd be up for that.
It might be beneficial also given our team's unique requirements in terms of the GEK and having the runner set up. It's not something that the wire community normally sets up, and it can pose some issues in setup, and it'd be nice if our wire community could communicate with each other, potentially help each other out. Okay, maybe we can create a channel in Gitter just for us, or are like people interested in our team also.
I think that's the common use case. That's what Jenica is. They do it in Gitter, not in Slack.
Got it.
Unless somebody knows otherwise, that's my understanding. Lindsay, I'm sorry,
Cool.
I cut you off. Did you have something else to
Oh
add?
no, I don't even remember.
Cool. And Lindsay, you got number 5.
Yeah. So for those of the folks in the US, I see some faces here. Don't forget that the open enrollment started yesterday, and it is an active enrollment. So you do need to go and choose your benefits, or else you may not get the coverage that you want. Alrighty, and onto the agenda.
Cool. So we have 3 members who are transferring to threat management. Yay. So we'll let Mo introduce himself, and then I will volunteer others to, Ken and Dave can't make it, but I'll have others read there. So Mo, go ahead.
Hey, my name's Mo. I live in Calgary with my partner Allison and our 2 kids and our pup. And I love to draw, code, and pretend I'm still a kid. And I'm excited to be here.
Welcome again, Mo. Good stuff.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for bringing a picture out there. Neat. Let's see. I'll just randomly pick. Zamir, do you mind reading Cam's or John's?
Yeah, sure.
Actually,
So yeah, the
Spelled
pronunciation is
C-A-N.
actually, yeah, the pronunciation is actually Jan.
Jan.
Yeah, he's based in Ireland. He has Turkish inheritance, and I had the opportunity to have a coffee chat with him. He seems to be like a great person to work with. So yeah, that's it. So I'm just I was supposed to read. So then, greetings everyone. I'm based in Ireland. Looking forward to working with you.
Thanks, Samir. And thanks for the context. Alan, you mind reading Dave's?
Sure. So yeah, hey everyone, my name is Dave. Obviously not mine, but Dave's name is Dave, and he's based in Sydney, Australia. He also has 2 kids, 8-year-old and 1.5-year-old girl, and they're very busy most of the time, and he's looking forward to work with us. It is great.
So Mo, I think you've probably met most people on the call. Anybody you not met that you'd like a little background on?
Alan, I don't think I've met you. And Alex, I've sort of seen you speak. I attend to one of the Threat Insights group meetings, but we haven't actually met or had a coffee chat yet. And hi, Alan.
So Alan and Alexander, where are you both based at, and what do you work on?
Okay, I'm based in Poland, Wrocław. Wrocław, Poland, so eastern part of Europe. Yeah, I enjoy spending time with my family, my partner and our daughter, and we're expecting a boy now. So yeah, lots of things are happening. Yeah, thank you. So, and we have a dog as well. So we enjoy, right now we're trying to stay inside, but we enjoy traveling a lot. So we can't wait to do it again.
And I'm Alexander. I'm based out of Denver, Colorado in the US. My partner and I live in an apartment with a bunch of our friends. So we have a big community here where we enjoy doing things with them. And then we have like dinner shifts that we take. And we have a cat named Oberon who's at the dentist right now.
And Sam, I know you and I spoke mostly about product, but I didn't really get to know you as a person. I don't know where you are or much about you. I don't know if you'd be comfortable sharing.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm in Utah, in the US. I've got a wife and 2 kids. One is 3 and the other one is 1. And they're loads of fun. We've been putting in our backyard. Especially with the coronavirus and everything, we've been staying home a lot more, so doing a lot of house projects. And it seems like almost every weekend I've got something going on in that regard. So it's great. They help me out and love it.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing. And back to you in the studio, Wayne.
Lindsay, I think you've got next.
I actually switched the agenda up to have Sam's item higher in the agenda because I think priority-wise we should make sure it gets talked about. Go ahead, Sam.
Excellent.
Sure. So the updates to rename Defend to Protect are now public, as those have been pushed to the website. We still have a few more updates that are coming. I think the direction pages are still, the changes are pending to move container scanning over and to create the new security orchestration category. But I've been working to get those updated and build out the epics and everything so that we have the changes in place. If you see anything I've missed, let me know. And I guess the time is still a little bit TBD. I'm actually working on it right now, but we're going to be scheduling a company-wide AMA, probably one that's EMEA friendly and another that's APAC friendly.
So thanks for doing the engineering handbook pages too, Sam. You caught those. I started looking at those today once I saw your MR got merged. And I'm like, wait a second, this is already done. This is awesome. We got, and Lindsay mentioning as well as your type is, we got a number of other changes in flight of labels for MRs and issues, YouTube playlists, Slack channels, who's in Google groups and Slack groups, and Juliana's working on contract changes as needed, and we got a whole bunch of things in flight. But Bamboo changes are in flight as well, etc. So all moving along. Anything else to add to that, Lindsay? Nope. Good.
If anyone's curious, there's a link to the issue. You can see the fun list of all the stuff.
Thanks for getting the AMA scheduled. David got tired of waiting on me to do it, so appreciate you doing it, Sam.
No problem.
David, I was expecting a response from that statement.
I feel like that's a one-on-one conversation, but sure.
No, and Sam, if I can do anything to help, let me know. Good stuff. Lindsay, back to you.
Okay, so one of the things that we've been talking about doing to try and improve our retrospectives is to give more information about what we're doing to follow up from our retrospectives. So I'm going to start to add items to this staff meeting agenda. This was added 2 weeks ago, so 2 weeks ago, the 13.3 follow-up was a little bit more pertinent, but I wanted to make sure that we still let you know that we're following up on these items. We had talked about the need for self-contained issue descriptions. If you are asked to break down an epic into implementation issues, we have a new template that you should use that will give you some more guidance on what information to put in those implementation issues now. So that was a direct response from some retrospective feedback from 13.3. And then in 13.4, more recently, I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of this response that we got from Tong around the discussion we had around what to do when you have to re-trigger, when your pipeline has failed for a reason outside of your MR and it's fixed and you don't want to have to go back to get the approval from the maintainer, there is instruction here from Tom on that. So I want to make sure that everyone knows that that is not something you need to go back to get the maintainer to reapprove. So you just need to run the pipeline again. And I think that was a observation in the retrospective, but we weren't sure. So I just wanted to confirm that that is the case. The other items that we talked about were specific to retrospective. So that's part of why we're talking about this today. You know, we've noticed not just in threat management, but in a lot of different groups around GitLab that the participation in the retrospective has declined over the course of the last couple of milestones. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. So we've talked about some of those. Some of the things that we want to do to make sure that they're still useful and that we're making good value out of your time is to, instead of reading what everyone writes in the issue during our synchronous discussion, actually pick some topics to discuss and get in a little bit more depth about. So we're asking the folks on the team, we're asking you all to add the microphone emoji to the items that you want to talk about in the synchronous discussion. So that'll be an indication, and the items that get the most microphones, we'll make sure that we have at the top of the agenda or the list of things to talk about in the synchronous discussion. Similarly, getting your feedback on what we bubble up to the company-wide retrospective. So far, that's been really just up to myself and Tiago to decide what we think should be shared, giving the team more of a voice on what those items are by adding the up emoji to those items in the retrospective is another addition that we're making. So, and just a plug for the 13.5 retrospective, it's open. I will be hosting the 13.5 retro discussion in 2 weeks. So you guys can all go and help me out and make sure that it's smooth sailing, because I'm a little nervous about it.
Can we heckle?
And then Wayne, you had a item at the bottom.
Can we heckle?
Oh yeah, no, please. You can heckle, but only silently in Slack. That's what the social channel's for.
Yes, no, I was just kidding, of course. So I do have a question. No, this is great stuff on the retrospectives. Who's invited to the retrospective issues and sync discussions? Do we include, you know, Sam and Matt and David, the product managers? Do we include the designers and UI UX folks? Do we include the technical writers? In my opinion, we should be. But
everybody should be included. That's part of that group or stage. So that includes like stable counterparts and QA and UX and whatnot.
Yeah, good point on quality counterparts, of which we have nobody right now. So,
well, you have a shared resource that gives you 10% of his time per
good point.
Per milestone. Good
point. We do have some. So it's great that product manager invited, and not to say that everybody's invited has to come, right? But how about designers and UI UX? Do we invite them, and if so, do they tend to participate?
So they're invited, and that our retrospective is on the threat management shared calendar, and I believe they should have access to the issue. And like David said, that is sort of the definition of how retro works at GitLab. I don't think we've explicitly reached out to encourage attendance from those individuals. And I think I see Sam's remark here, like, Sam, just because you're not doing the development doesn't mean you don't have feedback on how things went and want to improve. So I would encourage you to contribute.
Yeah, the intent is I believe the intent is, this is coming out of the working group I'm on to overall improve the process, not for retrospectives, but for the overall engineering, overall product development process, all the way from, you know, inception to go live, is that even though it's organized by development, it shouldn't be just about topics that development is interested in. It should include the thoughts of product managers and designers and UI UX folks, et cetera. So it's great, Sam, that you've been able to attend most of them. We'd like to hear from you too. So if you have ideas on how to improve things, the overall process, and I think we do, but I want to make it explicit. We want to hear from you too. Should we, if it's the right thing to do, which still don't, should we maybe reiterate to, you know, our other stable counterparts who tend to not come, that they're more than welcome to do so? I'm seeing some nodding.
I think so. It would be great to have an opportunity to connect when there's a reason to, and if there's a regular station for that to occur, or that occurrence to occur, it'd be good for them to know that they're invited.
Anyone want to volunteer to take that as an action, just to reach out to them and maybe just a Slack message in the group and saying, and naming them specifically, saying, hey, it's coming up on this day, and, you know, we'd love to have you here.
someone can help me with the names. I don't mind taking the action.
I can help with you,
Okay.
Mo. I'm deep in the retro game this month.
Okay.
One add-on to that is that I don't know, maybe this is, I'm sure this is easily answered in the handbook, and this is my own ignorance right now, but as far as GitLab organizes this, we have our larger, I don't want to say company-wide, I've always thought of it as engineering-wide retro. Is that intended to be for the larger audience outside of engineering as well?
My
I'm
thought
asking because
is
I've
it
never
hasn't
seen
been. It
feedback.
hasn't been.
Right.
And we definitely, we definitely have a lot of feedback on our teams between all the different engineers and product managers, and then also designers and UX, et cetera, UI UX. Not all teams have that, and it's sometimes because people are spread thinner, or that there's lots of people that are contributing to many different groups and don't always attend each one. But I think my impression is we're in pretty good shape on things like this. I think we could always improve it, but so let's try it with just us for now, rather than trying to extend the overall retrospective to others. But I think it would help other teams as well. But it's a great question, Lindsay. Maybe even since you're running it this month, you can.
Yeah, I think I have a good source of finding out, so I'll ask some questions.
If you think it's a good question to ask, you maybe add that to it.
We've got 3 minutes left, so our last agenda item is also mine, and it's around training. The first is feature flag training. We did just create an OKR, so we will be asking everybody to complete feature flag training, unless if I see Wayne tell me that that is not an OKR we're moving forward with.
Did that one make the cut?
That's what I wasn't sure. So there was a proposed OKR around asking everyone to make feature flag training required.
Let's test it here. Thumbs up or thumbs down in Zoom reactions. Do you want us to have this as a goal that everybody takes this training, or not? And not is just fine. I'm seeing 2 thumbs up and 3 4. Okay. All right. Yeah. So let's make sure it stays, Lindsay.
Okay. I just finished it in the last couple of days. It's very recent training. It's even been updated with the new feature flag YAML approach. So it's I think it's a very good use of everyone's time. Like I said, it's much shorter than the next one, which is the diversity, inclusion, and belonging training, which we're asking folks to optionally complete. I found it to be incredibly valuable. It goes through the LinkedIn training course, but it's much more time consuming. It takes up to 4 days, depending on how quickly you watch your video, because you can do it in like 1.5, 2 times speed. So that one is definitely optional. I just want to make sure that everybody is aware that it's available to you. And, for folks who want to take the time, that we will make sure that we accommodate for that as far as workload goes.
So when it was people managers, like Lindsay and I, it was required that we take it. For individual contributors, it's not required, it's optional. I don't think that's going to change in the future. I haven't heard that discussed. But when it's required, we had to do all of it. And most of it was pretty educational from my perspective. So everybody else, when they're taking it optionally, they should take the ones they like. If you start one and after 5 minutes, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't like this speaker or presenter, then skip it and go on to the next one. So I think it'd be less time for others. There were a couple that were really, really good.
Cool, and I think we've hit the bottom of our list. Does anyone else have any topics that they want to bring up in the last minute we have?
Yeah, so
we want to see Mo's thumb.
We started doing this in our team. In Zoom, it's under reactions. You click on reactions in Zoom, and then you can do that.
I see it. I'm on the Linux client, which doesn't have all the same features as the Mac client, but I found the thumb. I found the coffee too, and the cloud.
You don't get all the fun stuff, Mo, like, fancy video filters. I don't think some of the backgrounds work.
Yeah.
You and Sam White are kind of in your own category there, not getting the full benefit of Zoom.
I got your back, Sam. We'll take them on.
Thanks.
Yeah. We'll bring them to the other side.
Yeah, I mean, the only way you could, like, Mo, you're going to be able, oh, where is it now? That just takes fun out of it. They removed, like, I don't see the mustache filter anymore. Anyway, you can't do this, Mo. I don't know if that's working.
I just see David.
No?
Am I supposed to see a mustache on you?
Yeah, that's just your hair, David.
Oh.
It's
well, they're
really
not working-
realistic. He doesn't
They're
actually
not
have a
working for me
beard, bro.
either. Yeah, they're not working for me, Mo, so I might as well be on the Linux client.
Yeah.
This is all a filter. You didn't know that? Like, I'm actually have no facial hair.
Wow, that's really good.
Yeah. That's what I do all night. I hack the Zoom filter and make it even more realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the filters work great. This is appropriate for
Oh,
these
there's
days,
one.
unfortunately. Or here, I think David and Todd and I used this one for a little while. Or was it this one?
We'll launch macOS and KVM, Sam, and we'll run Zoom through that just for this. Just for
Yeah,
the
there we
filters.
go.
I will say, like, I never felt more sad for Wayne. He was very excited about the pirate filter when we used it in the recording, and then nobody watched the video to the end to see it.
What is happening? Well,
Yar. See you, everybody.
Bye, friends.
Bye.
Tune in next time.
Thanks, everyone.